not form a government soon?
Well, I think the point we try to make is that at the middle management level, and by that I mean the coordination of colonels and senior State Department officials is greatly improved in the last 4 or 5 months. It's somewhat robust. So are they developing a plan? I can't say that for sure, but they're discussing the alternatives that are there. But there is no guiding policy. We would say that many of the areas that we're suggesting remain and are inherently governmental, that those areas would probably require a change in the SOFA in order to affect that after 2011.
So if a government is not formed, then what happens?
That's a problem.
Yeah, you got to tell me more than that.
Well, under the current policy and Statement of Forces Agreement,
okay,
is we're out of there at the end of 2011. The military planning is we're out of there at the end of 2011.
No matter what.
They lockstep and salute when situations like that occur, and that's that may be part of this issue about them wanting to support the State Department is, hey, we're leaving. Now, we don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what is the Department of State's grand strategy for Iraq, and how do we define success?
Well, I think their grand strategy, they would tell you, and I can't speak totally for them, but they gave us a list of, about a dozen diplomatic objectives and responsibilities. And I think there would be to build a more effective, safer government environment and accomplish those areas consistent with the United States policy.
So that is the document that you're talking about that I guess you're looking for right now is the it's okay, you can look while I talk. So I take it that document is the measuring tool. Is that right?
Well, it certainly would be the objectives that are laid out there, and I thank you for giving me the time, but they're talking about areas, they would be successful if they mitigate and mediate Arab, Kurd, Sunni, Shia, and provincial Baghdad tensions, so there isn't a sectarian war. I mean, call it like it is. Strengthening the capacity of provisional, the provinces, institutions, at key flashpoint locations, in other words, where there is potential unrest, strengthen government or whatever is needed. Those are the criteria under which they would be judged, not military criteria.
Mr. Green, I have 32 seconds, so I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I can just run through a couple of the others here. Balancing foreign interference, encouraging foreign investment and economic development, promoting the safe return and resettlement of displaced persons, providing limited services, of course, to American citizens, presenting American policy and promoting mutual understanding and respect for American values. So that's kind of the laundry list of what they hope to achieve in through the embassy and through these 4 other posts that they are planning to establish.
I see my time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the gentleman from Maryland. If there's no further questions at this time, what I would like to do is...
Chairman?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Congressman from Missouri. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will be as brief as possible. And let me thank both witnesses for being here. And you both paint a very troubling picture of Iraq's security realities and of the State Department's ability to handle this transition. The State Department has requested over $4 billion to fund its plans for a large civilian presence in Iraq during and after the drawdown of U.S. forces. Concerns have been raised that the State's budget request may not reflect the actual cost of its future civilian presence. Do you believe that the State Department is capturing the full cost of what it's going to take to fund this transition?
I think that might be two parts in that answer. I think they are trying to capture the cost, but what they're doing is they're moving cost now under a plan to the right. In other words, the permanent construction of these new sites, it's an unfair word, but they're cobbling together available resources to build T-walls and things they're bringing from a distance rather than building new sites, and they're moving that to the right. There are several examples where fiscal management is requiring that they meet these challenges by delaying the application of the funds because it's a zero-sum game and they don't have enough funds.
Well, with the hiring of private contractors and civilian presence, will that are there enough safeguards to ensure that it's transparent, that there is accountability? Ms. Green, you can try to.
I believe it does. I think that there's been so much planning that has occurred relative to security that I think under the current circumstances that the Department believes they have the bases covered. To answer your question about the 4.7 or $4 billion that they requested in the 10 supplemental and the 11 budget, is that enough? I don't know, because it's like painting a moving train. And as I mentioned in an earlier comment, until the Iraqi government is stood up and is able to make some of the decisions that they have to make, for example, the transfer of property, we can't get a final okay on the 4 sites for the consulates and the other 2 sites for the embassy offices. We can't get final approval on those until the Iraqi government gives a green light. So there have been discussions. The Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister and the DCM at the embassy have had detailed discussions. They get a wink and a nod, but until we know that real estate, as an example, is there for the State Department, we don't know all of the costs associated with it.
And this is my final question on the issue of transfer of power. Is DOD dragging their feet because they don't support the change of policy in Iraq and the handover to the State Department?
I would say no.
No.
I would say that DOD is probably the reverse, giving up when they shouldn't give up certain responsibilities that have been brought up here previously that they should be performing. So maybe it's the opposite of it to an extent. They've been told to get out, and they're in a hurry to get out.
Yeah, I mean, they know the date is December 2011, and they've saluted, and they're making plans to turn over these responsibilities to the State Department and move equipment out, transfer equipment where appropriate.
And you're comfortable with that?
No.
It will work? No, you're not.
No, we're not.
Okay.
No, sir.
All right. I thank you both for your testimony and your answers. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Yeah, thank you very much. And let me just say to the gentleman from Missouri, that's why we're having this hearing. We want to make certain that these questions are answered. I want to thank you for your questions. Let me thank the witnesses for their work, and of course, we look forward to continuing our dialogue. And there will be some questions that we will submit to you in writing, hoping to get answers from them as well. Right? And please convey our best to Congressman Shays. Right. Thank you very much.
We will, and thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me just say to the members that just before the vote coming up very shortly, what I'd like to do is there's 5 bills I think we can quickly pass and then call up the second panel. So why don't we do that? So if staff would make the transition and then we'll go to the second panel immediately after that.